The broadcast is now starting.
All right, hello and welcome to another of our PixelMill Webinar Series. In this month's offering on One Card at a Time, Leveraging Teams and Planner to Manage End User Adoption by Microsoft MVP and one of my dear friends, Heather Newman. Thank you very much for joining us. If you haven't been here before, welcome, and thanks for joining us. If you've gone to our webinars and you've seen them before, hey, welcome back. We're really glad you joined us. My name is Eric Oberfield, President, Co-founder of PixelMill, Microsoft MVP as well, Regional Director, all that fun stuff. So thank you for joining us here. We at PixelMill, for those of you new to what we do, we offer collaboration and communication solutions and guidance and roadmaps around Office 365 ecosystems and whatnot. If you ever have any questions about that, please always reach out to us, pixelmill.com or sales@pixelmill.com. We will get a hold of you. Okay, so just before we get started here, there is a questions tab that you can use. It should be on the GoToWebinar panel on your right-hand side by default. Please go ahead and ask those questions there throughout the entire, during the whole presentation here, the whole webinar. I will do my best to interrupt Heather for you and ask those questions. Hopefully there'll be some time at the end, Heather, for some Q&A. If not, we will get everyone's questions answered at some point. We'll make the recording available sometime in the next couple days and all. And of course, you all will be notified, and we'll also get all those questions out. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Heather, go ahead and please take over.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric, and thank you to PixelMill for having me. Hello. I guess good morning and good afternoon to everyone, and good evening. I am coming to you from New York City. I'm in Brooklyn and Williamsburg, so I'm here for SharePoint Saturday, New York, coming up this weekend. So hello. Yes, so let's get rocking. All right. I wanted to start with a book that I really have enjoyed working on. So this came out a few years ago at Ignite, and it was a book that myself and a bunch of other MVPs and influencers worked on, and it's about essays on analytics and adoption. And so if you haven't seen this book, it's a really great read. There's a free version of it up on the link there, and then you can get it in paperback versions as well, which is pretty cool. And just to sort of tell you a little bit about me, I am, let's see, I'm living in Los Angeles right now, and I am, let's see, the CMO of Content Panda. I also run a business called Creative Maven. I do a lot of writing and work on the diversity and inclusion programs throughout our SharePoint land and for Microsoft. So you'll see my name and voice and all of that around all of those fun things. Speaking of which, I'm going to go back a slide here too, because we did have the SharePoint conference in North America in May of 2018. And if you didn't get a chance to check all of that stuff out, the content's online. A lot of it is. It's some really great announcements from our key players in the SharePoint universe. So definitely go check that out. Maybe go check out the Twitter stream if you didn't get to see that, or go. It was a really great conference. And we did our first diversity and women in tech track there, which Eric was in. We did an entire track that went up against all of the technical tracks, and it was really great. And I'm most likely producing a webinar series of that content, so look out for that as well. Ignite is coming up in September 2018 here, and I know I will be there speaking with a lot of the diversity and inclusion podcast and a theater session and all of that, so see me there and see lots of our wonderful friends there. Lots of MVPs and influencers will be there as well. So, you know, teams in business are moving at the speed of light. I am using Teams more than ever now. I started off kind of slow and was like, oh my gosh, how do I use this? But now I'm using it pretty much for everything. I have it in three different tenants. I also have a tenant where I'm in with Microsoft. I have different places where I'm working on projects with other colleagues and friends. So I am in the thick of using Teams and Planner to basically plan my life and also plan a lot of the events that we're involved in. I'm involved as a speaker in many events. I'm also involved as a sponsor. And also a lot of the times we're like working together as a community and as a team. And I'm going to show you a little bit of how we have managed the SharePoint LA Saturday coming up. That's on August 11th. So if you're in the LA area, come say hi. Love it. So modern teaming today, you know, we've got about 50% of the workforces and workforces holding jobs that are at least partially, telework, and we've got about 20 to 25% who work at home. So we've got people working from everywhere. I know that if you look at the picture with the table, that is me a lot of the times. I'm in an Airbnb right now, sitting in my bedroom doing this webinar. So I am definitely telecommuting to the people in my life right now, and I think that's part of all of our worlds. I think the time that we spend searching for things is about 2.5 hours. When we're looking to find something, when we're looking for how to do something, and when we have information all over the place, it is really difficult. And then, of course, these facts come from the internet, so they're all true. But we've got 40% of productivity being lost when we're switching between tasks. That's really one of the things I really love about Office 365 and Planner and Teams is that I'm getting out of email, believe it or not. I am, and some of it is me forcing that with my teams, where I'm only putting things in Teams, I'm only communicating with them there, and trying to get us out of email a little bit so that I can live and breathe in the channels that are inside of Teams. Our marketplace is full of tons of product and project management choices. Lots of people use Jira for engineering and Trello out there. Basecamp was one of the first. I do love Project Server, although I don't use it quite as often as I used to. But a lot of our project management, like especially the good old workback schedule, those are a lot of the times in Excel. And I have told my teams that we're not allowed to use Excel for workback schedules anymore. You can start it there, but it needs to move and port over into Teams and Planner. That has been a really big, tough thing for all of us, actually, because we're so used to doing that. So I'm really excited about that move so that we really start using the power of Planner for all of our events and all of our projects. End user adoption, in my humble opinion, hasn't really changed in a lot of years. And, with SharePoint, it's about 15, 16, maybe 17 years now. And we have the chance to change that, I think, with Microsoft 365 and Office 365. People just really don't do it because it's not easy to do. Change management is hard. But you have some steps that you can do, which I'm going to take you through here and talk to you about what it is to build an end user adoption campaign, and also show you a bit of how we manage the project of SharePoint LA. Fast Track. If you haven't heard about Fast Track before, this is a program that Microsoft created to help businesses onboard faster for Office 365 and Microsoft 365. And so you can check out all of this material online. It's fasttrack.microsoft.com. Fast Track is moving sort of just as fast as Office 365. I know that all of us are watching this product evolve all the time and literally at the speed of light. Fast Track is kind of doing the same thing as well, where their messaging is pretty much staying the same, but they're always uploading new things. I will tell you that if you're building any sort of adoption, any sort of change management, any sort of campaign, go to Fast Track and steal all of their wonderful templates. There's PowerPoint, there's Excel, there's Word, there's all kinds of stuff up there that you can go grab and use. And it's not in PDF. You can actually get it and put your hands on it and use it, and I love it. So I found that with Fast Track, I've kind of mapped a lot of the pillars that they have in Fast Track with some of the pillars that I've seen over the years when I'm doing these end user adoption campaigns and getting into the technology. Also, another point, if you aren't on the tech community.microsoft.com, Microsoft Tech Community, you really should be. There's a lot of great information up there, and it's really where Microsoft is pushing all of its content out through. So if you're, instead of hunting and pecking around for things and going into search, go here first if you're looking for something. The blogs are all up there, the different communities where you can ask questions, all the event information. There's tons and tons of stuff up there that you should be taking advantage of. And if you're a SharePoint person or an Office 365 person, there's a space up there for you. So I highly recommend you go do that. So Planner was generally available back in 2016. So we're 2 years in, and they were available for the different subscription plans. And basically the message in marketing was, organize plans, assign tasks, share files, chat by using the boards, buckets, and cards, and due dates. The Planner Hub shows you kind of every plan that you're working on, and the tiles showcase the key metrics on your favorite plans. Now, I will tell you one thing on this webinar right now. I've got a few screenshots in here, but I'm also going to take you into a demo so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'll get into that here in a little bit. Planner app integration using Microsoft Flow, that was available not too long ago. So we've got again, the consistent merging of technologies so you can use one within the other, which is really exciting. As an MVP, I get to, Eric and I were on a call this morning, and we get to hear all the good juicy stuff that's coming, and I'm really excited about what's happening in both Planner and Teams. A lot of stuff I can't tell you, but a lot of good stuff that's coming. And that's what leads me to User Voice. User Voice, if you haven't been up here, it's a great place to have a voice. And if you want a certain feature or piece of functionality that you don't see there, this is the place to tell Microsoft. And you have a direct line into the product teams. They actually read this. You can vote, and the more you vote, this is the place where I'm like, the more you vote, the better, the higher up the score gets. So a lot of wonderful features and functionality have come from you and from all of us who are like, gosh, could it really do this? There's a lot of things in Planner right now where, people want, say, a private channel, or they want, for me, one of the things that's hard for me is because I have so many tenants that have Teams and Planner, flipping back and forth between them is kind of tough. And so those things are on User Voice. If those are important to you, go there and please vote. So you can just put in Microsoft Planner User Voice in your browser, and you can get to this really easily. And every technology, I believe, that Microsoft has out there has one of these. And so you're getting that direct feed line right into the product team, which is super cool. Planner tasks now in Outlook. There's a lot of people who have a lot of love for Outlook tasks. I know I do as well. I've lived in there for a long time as well. Planner is making those connections, and you can see your Planner tasks in Outlook. And as of today, I don't believe you can actually edit inside of Outlook, but I believe that's coming. And so that'll be really exciting when we can actually do that. So it's the continuous sort of mapping and connecting into those technologies where we want parity, right? We want parity functionality from one to the other. And it's really exciting that we're being listened to, and that Microsoft is making those changes. So today, I want to have you walk away with a little bit of knowledge of the Fast Track program, what this end user adoption checklist would look like, and then what Planner looks like for a project, and also looking at Teams a bit as well. So, no adoption equals no value. And I believe that's true. If you have shelf ware sitting there, or people who don't know how to use something, they're being non-productive, right? So at the end of the day, we want people empowered. We want people to not feel silly or stupid. I think, I've been using SharePoint a really long time. Since 2001 when it was called Tahoe. And so I was on that team, and over the years, just watching people struggle sometimes, trying to find what they need to do, I think is really tough. And so I think really putting together some good campaigns around adoption when, say, you are migrating from one version of SharePoint to the other, or when new features and functionalities come in, how do people get informed? A lot of the times they just show up. So I think thinking about how you can empower your IT team and also the marketing team. As a CMO, my favorite, I shouldn't say that, but maybe my favorite people are my IT people. And we will always work together in tandem to push something out via corporate communications when we're talking about new features and functionality. And we basically roll an end user adoption campaign kind of over and over and over again, so that people in our companies are used to getting these messages like, hey, there's something new coming, you should check that out. And a great way to use that, you can use Yammer for that. You can push that out into Teams now. So lots of really new cool ways to communicate with all of your end users and folks using this software. Ooh, I put in a fancy, let's just do that again because that was fun. Okay, awesome, I love that one, that's my favorite PowerPoint slide transition. So anyway, if you've seen some of my presentations before, you might have seen this because I kind of harp on it, but I do harp on it because I think it's important, that we've got an adoption campaign checklist. Basically, back when My Sites came out, if you remember that, and My Sites are now what? OneDrive for Business. So when that came out years ago, I actually met with Jeff Teeper at the Sharepoint Conference, and I said to him, do you remember our My Site campaign? And he was like, yeah. And I said, I still have some posters, which I do, which I just found. And basically, I said to him, I'm going to send you one. And so I'm rolling those up and sending one to him. And it's actually this. This was a poster that we created to help people inside of Microsoft, dog food, right? Eat your own dog food before you unleash it on the world to other people. Send out what a My Site was, because people didn't know to adopt it. It, again, showed up, in that top corner, and people didn't know how to use it. And so we created a campaign. Now, this campaign was created back, over a decade ago now, my goodness, ish. And so the thing is that these campaigns don't change, really, as far as how to roll out adoption. And you can use it really for anything, for marketing. I think sometimes you can actually alter it for your life as well if you want. But, you need to define your vision. You get your executive sponsors. Make sure you got up top, right? Who are your key stakeholders? Who's your tiger team, or whatever you want to call that team? What is the use case? What are those business scenarios that you're going to use? You need to gather your champions. Release in phases. Don't try and boil the ocean. You need a communications plan always. That's where you are in lockstep with your marketing team and your IT team, and maybe even your human resources team. What's your end user training plan? What do you have for them? How is it going to happen? Who are the experts out there in the community? There's lots of wonderful people who talk about end user adoption. Erica Tolley is a good friend, and she talks about end user adoption, and she's wonderful. Anything she writes, I would go check her out. Erica Tolley, she's amazing. Rob Bogue, Penelope Coventry. There's tons of folks who have really great blogs and guidance about this stuff. Make it fun. If you can gamify in some way, you absolutely should. And then measure and share and iterate. So to me, measure and share and iterate is last, but it actually should be first when you define your vision, so that you know what you're measuring and you can know what success looks like. If you don't know what success looks like and you can't tell somebody you did a good job, they're never going to know. So the poster, for example, has a lava lamp in the back, if you see that. We gave away lava lamps. We did all kinds of things to encourage people to use their My Sites, and I'll talk about that in a little more in just a sec. All right. Human to Human. This is a great book about defining your vision. And what I really love about this, a friend of mine wrote this book, and he basically went to a event and put, there's no B2B and B2C, it's only human to human, H to H. Somebody took a snapshot of that and it went viral on Twitter, and it got like 2.5 million impressions. And so he decided, that kind of struck a nerve. So we went back that weekend and literally wrote the book. Book's about this big. It's a really great book, I think, to read as a team. I think it's like $6 or $7 on Amazon. And it's all about sort of the fact that, businesses and corporations really don't have emotions. Products don't really have emotions, but we do. That we want to sort of feel something, we want to hear stories, and that we make mistakes. And I think that why we use things like Planner and Teams is that we want to make to-do lists and we want to execute them. And so anytime we've got really great technology that can help us really do something great and make a connection to people. And again, going back to having folks who need to adopt software or learn something, not feel silly, not feel stupid, not feel like that they can't learn quickly and retain it as well. Start with why. I love this one too. This is Simon Sinek. If you haven't seen, you can buy the book, but I would recommend there's a YouTube. You just put Simon Sinek, Start with Why. He talks about focusing on the why and not the what. And I feel like when you're dealing with a campaign like this, you want to focus on the why. Why are you doing this? Why do we have to use the software? Why are things changing? When you're looking at your vision, knowing your company why, knowing your personal why, I think is really important. My personal why is the reason I get out of bed in the morning is I want to spread joy and connect as many people as possible. Full stop. That's mine. And I try and live and breathe that every day. And I think that companies that do that, and they do that with their employees, are way more successful because you always have your North Star. And so I think that on the top level, knowing those things and having those be a part of any campaign you do or adoption that you do are really important. Whenever you can humanize something, I think you're always more successful. Technology acceptance model. I love this. Okay, so this is there's two pieces of the TAM, and one is perceived usefulness. So it's the degree to which a person believes that using a particular system would enhance their performance. So the key word here is believe, right? So do I believe that this is going to be useful for me, right? The next one is perceived ease of use. So it's the degree that a person believes that using some sort of system is going to be free from effort. So whenever you're looking at adoption or taking on something, and it's not really just a technology acceptance model, but again, it's maybe a life acceptance model. You know, is this thing, person, or stuff, or travel, or whatever going to be useful to me, and how easy it is for me, is it going to be for me to do it, right? But with adoption, I think these two pieces are very important for when you're building a campaign, of understanding that it's all about belief a lot of the time. And in marketing, which I do, is all about perception, right? So I think when you put those two together and you've got a really good belief and you've got a really good perception, then you can get people to actually potentially adopt that software that you're looking for. I love this slide. This is from an educator back in actually the 60s. And this curve that's been put together, it's called the diffusion of innovation. And a lot of people will look at different products that have come out into the world and sort of put it on this this curve. And in any adoption campaign that you're putting together, you're going to have all 5 of these people in your team, or you should. So you have the innovators, the people, when you're creating that tiger team, right? You have the innovators, and it's like, okay, you know, people are like, yes, I love this. I absolutely, I'm in. I want to use Teams and Planner. Sign me up. You'll have your early adopters. That's the next chunk that's kind of like, okay, yeah, all right, well, if we have to, we'll do that. The early majority, more people start, you know, getting exposed to it, and they're like, okay, I'm in, you've convinced me. Late majority, those are the people that hang back and aren't quite there with you. And then there's the laggards, or the naysayers, I'll call them as well. And those are the people that are like, oh, here we go again. We've got more software that we need to deal with. I got to learn something else. This is going to take a lot of time. It's terrible, you know. Those are people that sometimes in the past have probably said things like SharePoint sucks. So I think what's important though about this is that if you look at the percentages, it's you know, you've got a little in the beginning, but you know, most people sit in that early and late area, and so you do get people that come along. And this is from years and years of research, and they keep redoing the research, and the numbers really haven't changed all that much over the years, which is kind of interesting. So first, you know, outline your vision. That's the first one on our list here. And then I'm going to go pretty quickly through these slides because I'm excited to get to some demo action. So that's Jeff Teeper. If you don't know Jeff, he's our corporate vice president of all of our engineering over at SharePoint and Office 365 land. When we did the original end user adoption campaign, we knew what our vision was. That was, we wanted more adoption inside of Microsoft of my sites. That was our goal. We wanted, I believe, like a 30 to 35% raise in what we had. So that was our vision for it. And we wanted it in a certain amount of time. We wanted it in 4 months, right? So those were our metrics, our success metrics. Did we hit 30, 35%? Did we hit our 3-month mark, right? So Jeff was very involved with this, and he supported it from the beginning because, you know, we needed to get more people on that software so we could, on that piece of software, so we could see how it worked before we released it in the, you know, the GA to the public. And so Jeff really served as our head mouthpiece, if you will. Now, Jeff didn't write an email for this campaign at all. We wrote the emails and he sent them, or he wrote an email and it went on a content editor web part at the time, or he wrote it and we posted it in SharePoint so people could read it. But having that upper level support, really leading the way, gives that belief that this is something that people should do. If you don't have your execs, people won't buy into it because they don't believe that the up top actually has the vision along with you. Use case driven, low-hanging fruit is what that's called, I think. So look to the business. With any of this, right now I'm working on a project with a team and we are moving to Teams, and it's going to be a very large project. It's a very big team that we are moving everybody into, and so we are starting with a team of 8 to get them up to speed and on it and using it so that they become the, you know, train the trainers, if you will, and as we roll it out. So we looked to one of the teams that has kind of the most communications that they need to put out. And so it ended up being kind of a marketing strategy team that we're working with first, alongside of corporate communications. But you can start with any use case you like as far as these things go, but you need to make sure that it's one where you've got the buy-in of the team and really drive it to a certain use case. We're putting out I will call it a booklet. Booklet is such an old term, I guess, but a set of information, let's say that, that's really important, that's going to go out to a large amount of people. And managing that is a big deal for this team. And so we're using Teams and Planner to actually do a work back schedule to go from when we're going to launch it back in October, November to now, and have them plan the whole thing in Teams. And that's going to be sort of our test case, use case run on using the product. Champions rock your project, top down, bottom up. Kind of like I said before, if you look at that the innovation slide, the bell curve, you really have to have that most excited person, and then you have to have your biggest critic. Those people who are devil's advocates and naysayers, they always make you think about things that you probably wouldn't. Sometimes it can be a stick in the mud, and I've always seemed to change or get them to move to being a champion. I've never had it where they completely stuck their heels in the ground. So I believe that it's really good to have that entire gamut in your team when you're putting your champions together. Develop your communication plan. Princess Leia was so good at communicating. So had to put some Star Wars in there, of course. But with your communications plan, bill of materials. A lot of times we'll use, I use OneNote to start things out, to take meeting notes, to make checklists, those sorts of things. We do that inside of Teams. With executive announcements, I will build things in Word, check it in Grammarly, load it up to Teams so we can all collaborate on those different things. And really making sure that you know your target audience. Say that first email that goes out from your executive, that first email that went out with Jeff, it outlined what we were doing. It told the timeline. It gave everybody a clue of when they were going to be asked to move and do something, right? Fast Track. This is a great place to look for templates on Fast Track. There's great communication templates up there in PowerPoint and in Excel. So I definitely go up there, and if you're looking for that communications plan, they've got great ones up there to take and leverage. This is one of them. So this is directly from the Fast Track site. And the big thing about anytime you're doing any sort of campaign, it's release it in phases. Now, there's going to be campaigns that are company-wide or out into the world that you do. But I think there's always a really good, if you have the time, and most of the time in the world we live in tech, we don't always have the time. But with software and adoption, I think you try not to boil the ocean, and you do one workload or one division at a time. And as you can see, this is an example of a phased approach. So you would start, say, the rollout is in January. You've done a lot of work before that, of course. And then you've got your division 1, say a buzz day, a scenario spotlight. Then the division 2 goes, buzz day, division 3, and repeat that, por favor, So I think setting the vision, prioritizing and creating the plan, and then committing the resources, and then measure, share, iterate. These 4 are in that 10. This is how Microsoft talks about it a little bit when they keep evolving that as well. But releasing in phases is really important. Cool. Ooh, this is another great template. So this is a template again on the Fast Track site. They keep updating and changing them, so I keep making sure my screenshots are up to date. But definitely go check this out. So you have a pre-launch phase, the actual launch, and a post-launch phase. This one is 12 weeks long. When I do this with clients and customers, a lot of the times, so I have my marketing business, Creative Maven, I'll have clients and do this stuff with them. I also, with Content Panda, which is our help and in context solution for SharePoint and Office 365, we'll often go in and talk to people about putting that solution in, and how do you tell people what's happening, that there's something there to help them. And so I will use a version of this with them that they can have, so that they can actually, you know, tell people why Panda is going to show up on their screen. So like you always have sort of the same things on the side there. You know, what are your key events? Who's project managing? Do you have your vision? What's the technology look like? Communications, your champions, your governance. The words change a little bit in the checklist, and I do have that checklist actually for the adoption stuff up on our website at contentpanda.com and resources. There's tons of stuff up there, and I put all that stuff as much as I can up there for adoption and end user adoption campaigns. So if you want to grab that checklist and have it and print it and at your desk, that's a really great thing to do, I think, because then it reminds you of sort of what those different checks are on the list. But it's kind of cool. You got week 2, week 3, and it really goes deep into what a pilot to post-launch looks like. I definitely never start from scratch. All of this stuff lives somewhere out on the interwebs, so I definitely go check that out for sure. End user training. We've got, I'll just say Content Panda once. I already said it, didn't I? But combined knowledge, Mindsharp, critical path training. There's tons of training companies out there that do in-person, in context, on demand, all that sort of thing. And I believe in all of them. I believe that there's space for, you know, sometimes you're going to have, some people have training inside of HR, and it's their task to make sure people get trained. A lot of times you'll have on-demand training where you can go off and go to an LMS, a learning management system, and go get trained as well. I'm a fan of the in-context stuff because that's one of my companies. But, you know, I think all of them together or one or the other is really good, but you absolutely need to have training for people. You can't just throw them in and expect them to know. You know, something funny about that, when I was working, I was running marketing for AvePoint for a few years, and great company. And I literally, when people would come in and say, and put SharePoint on their resume, I would say, oh, you know, SharePoint, and they'd go, uh-huh. And I go, cool. And I'd turn my Surface, it was probably a laptop at that time actually, but my computer around, I'd say to them, here's our SharePoint site, create a document library. And sometimes people will be like, okay, and do it. And other times people will be like, and I'm like, you don't know SharePoint. So it's really important to get people trained. And, you know, sometimes you can hire people who don't know, but you want to get them trained quickly. So you bring that good training to them. Here's some folks that are awesome in our community. There is Eric Riz and Jennifer and Sue Hanley, who's the goddess of governance, and Rob Bogue. There's lots of people who are terrific at this, and you should talk to them about it. Gamification, again, what we did in this wonderful area was we gave away lava lamps, we gave away, oh my goodness, gift cards to things. Basically, if you would go up and put something in your My Site, share it with somebody else, and show that you had used it, and we could tell that, we would go in and do it by division. And this was a company-wide giant campaign where we had posters and window clings and a little bit of money because it was inside of Microsoft, but not tons. But we did push out a content editor web part at the time that had what we were doing, that this was a game and a prize. And all of that. And it was really fun to figure out how we could get folks to do something. I think that, you know, little parties and town hall meetings, little contests, all that stuff help with any of the end user adoption stuff. Pizza and stuff like that also help with bribery. Also, recognition for content contribution or usage is always a great way to get people to adopt new things as well. Smart, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. So measure, share, and iterate. So you're creating the, you know, what shows progress, what matters to the stakeholders, the question of when are you putting milestones together and actually having and meeting those milestones. So that mnemonic device of SMART is a really good way to build metrics and you can create surveys. If you do that listening back and forth, you can actually pivot on issues when you have them. So that's really, again, start with your vision and SMART so that you're not not getting credit for all the good work you're doing. It's really important. So this goes into Planner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of slides. I'll tell you what I did. I took slides from Microsoft. These are all great. These all tell you all about like all the marketing speak, right? So get organized quickly, work together effortlessly, Never miss a beat. And there we go. So I also put in slides of all of these things so that you could see them as well as hear me talk about them. So I've got a bunch of these in here, but I'm going to jump to a demo. Let's see how we do on that. So I'm going to hit escape. And I'm going to go down here for later. Okay, I'm going to shut this. Oh, yay, hello. And I'm going to go into a couple of different things. So I'm going to show you, let's see, our SPS Los Angeles 2018 planning for a second, and then I'll jump into an end user campaign as well. So basically in here, we've got a couple of different things. This is my, for Creative Maven, this is my internal place where I basically manage my life. And then we also have SharePoint Saturday Los Angeles in here. And so we've got a general channel where we all chat. There's probably about 12 of us, I would think, on the committee. Eric's on that as well. We also have an archive of what happened before. So these are all channels, right? So we've got different channels in our teams, and we've got, you know, a budget channel. There is a fly in here. Sorry about that. Giveaways, shirts and themes, registration, session content, sponsorship, and I think it loves me. SPS LA information and volunteers. I don't know if I'm as fast as Neo in the Matrix. We'll see. There we go. So anyway, we've got that, and you have your conversations in here. For all of this stuff, you've got different files, you know, that you can post up here. And we've got, you know, design and quotes, and we're getting hoodies and all that sort of thing, speaker hoodies and all of that. We've got a wiki up here. And then in our general tab, we've got SPS Los Angeles 2018 planning. And then we've also got tasks. Planning is our OneNote that we have in here. So we'll see how quickly my internet is working for us today. Hi, here we go. So we've got, you know, meetings with different people where we're all the things we needed to list out and do back from March. We've got more meeting notes in here as we go along. And then we have our planner, which will take a second to get rocking. Cool. And so, you know, what I've done in here is for this particular one, for an event, I did a budget set of cards. So you've got, you know, your different buckets in here, and then each bucket has the ability to add a task, right? So I've got a bunch of tasks in here. There's 7 completed. We need to order the catering next week. I'm putting together some costumes for the photo booth. I need to finish getting the, you know, insurance policy for the event. I've got registration up here. I've got sponsorship. I've got speaker management and content. I've got my volunteers, giveaways. I need to go buy stuff at the store. What are we doing for digital? I'm going kind of slow so you don't get sick while I'm moving this around. Speaker dinner venue. What's going on with the SharePoint? What do we need to do the week of our event? Is there an after party? Maybe. So just to show you another example. So this is how I'm managing our wonderful committee and how I'm doing this with Planner inside of Teams, right? So with a lot of these, you know, I can add that, you know, something I need to do is send final numbers to venue for our speaker dinner, right? And I actually need to do that today. And I'm going to assign it to myself in here, right? And so I've added myself a task in there that I need to do that today. So what's really cool about Planner is that you've got, you know, you've got all kinds of functionality where you can label it, you can assign it, you can copy the task, you can delete it. You can go back in here and you can see that you've got, you know, it's not started yet, but maybe actually it is in progress. And when it's due, and I'm going to say send email, please. You can add an item to a checklist. You can add an attachment. I could go in and I could add the contract in here as an attachment as well. So you've got all kinds of great stuff that you can do. And anytime you see the ellipses as well, you can copy a task, copy the link, you can delete it, all of that. You've got tabs over here for labeling. I know lots of people use a lot of these and label the tabs. I haven't delved into that, to be totally honest, yet, to actually label it with using colors yet. But I love the functionality of this. You can see it as a board. You can see it, which is this view. You can see it as a chart, and you can see that we've got, let me move this up just a smidge, 24 tasks left. What's not started, what's completed, and what area are we looking at? So what bucket do we have tasks in left? And, there's a, few things that we need to get done, and what's late and what's in progress. What's assigned to people, I have a bunch of stuff. Annalise, who works for me, has a bunch of stuff. David Levier has a few things. I don't know if I have anything assigned to you, Eric. No, you're good. Liz Thundet. So, it's cool because you can just slice and dice in between, the different ways you're looking for stuff. And then you can also, in your tasks, let me move my little GoToMeeting thing out of the way here. You can group your tasks in different ways too. You can, group a task by bucket. You can by assigned to, and you can see, mine are right here, which are awesome. You can do it by progress. So what's not started yet, what's in progress, what's completed. You can sort by due date as well, like what's late. And right now it's late, yes, in order of lateness, like what's the one that hasn't been done yet. And there's a lot of these things that I think I probably have done that I probably need to say that I've done them, but you can see the functionality there. And then you can also sort by labels. If you don't have labels, like I have, it'll show up as uncategorized. So that's a little view into, managing an event with Planner and Teams. Up here, you've got all the abilities in Teams to follow a channel. You can open your files actually in SharePoint. You can add a channel, add members. The other really cool thing that I really enjoyed with this is that I'm not going to go in there because sponsorships are kind of a private thing, but with sponsorships, what we did was we used, I'll show you this. What we used is you can get an email address, right? So what we did is you got an email address, and what we did is we added this in, and we used this as the email address we communicated with our sponsors about, which was really cool. And I really liked that because then they show up in the conversation, which I thought was really, really awesome. So I really enjoyed using this for that. I was like, I know, Eric, hey, Eric.
Yep.
Do you have anything to add about using this? And then I'm going to flip into the end user campaign.
Well,
I don't know.
I actually have some questions that have come in. I wanted to wait till there was a good breaking point.
Okay, cool. Here, let me pop that open too.
So there's a bunch of them here. So Paisley, who's a long time, she's joined us in a lot of webinars, great person. She asked, what's a speaker hoodie? She then asked two more pertinent questions, I think, which is what would be involved in getting access to Teams, which I think there's a really good answer here. And then do you need the whole Office 365 contract, or can you get access to Teams and combine them with SharePoint on-prem?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Well, first of all, a speaker hoodie is just a regular, hoodie zip-up jacket. So we're giving those to all of the speakers as a thank you for speaking at the event. That's what I meant by that. What is involved in getting access to Teams? Well, first of all, what has happened very recently is that Teams is changed how you're allowed to get it. Mm-hmm. And that just came out. And so we have, Teams is available now for small businesses, and you can get it for free. So that
was what I wanted to hear, really, right there.
So free to do it any old time. So that's really exciting. So it's free.
Let me find that link for you all, and I'll post it here.
Totally, that's awesome. Okay, so then do you need a whole Office 365 contract, or can you get Teams to combine with it on-prem? That's a good question. So we've got the new free version, and then obviously we've got Office 365 that has teams for like the E3 and E5 licenses and all of that. That's a really good question about combined with SP on-prem. I don't think that's, I think if you have a hybrid model, maybe, but I'm not sure if you can combine it.
I haven't done it either, but I bet through the hybrid Azure Active Directory, you might be able to. Because in that hybrid approach, you're basically kind of going into Office 365 a little bit as well. And then hopefully you all just got my link to the to free, which if you just do a Google search on Microsoft Teams free, you'll get it, and you'll love the site that I just sent you to at Microsoft. It's like, yes, it's free.
Got it. Cool. Okay, let's see. Can you validate that a planner attachment is different than an item in the files folder? I'd like to verify the difference between an attachment and a link to a file and a planner title. Okay. Let's see here. And then that was the end of the questions. Okay, cool. Let me shut this window just a second.
Yeah. Okay. I'll bring on more.
Yeah, don't worry. So if you're in files, right, themselves, there's an ability to open in SharePoint, right? So the one thing that's kind of cool with the Teams and Planner and all of that is that there's lots of connections happening on the back end. And so when I created a new Teams, and for example, this is my internal one, right? I basically went in and I wanted to connect that Teams to my SharePoint existing Creative Maven marketing site. So you have the choice to do that, which is super cool. And with let me go back into little tasks over here. So maybe we can verify this. I think that in here, insurance policy for the event, add an attachment. So you can add an attachment as a link, and then you can add an attachment. Let's see what this does. SharePoint. I haven't done this a lot, to be totally honest, putting attachments in there. So let's see what happens. Budget admin. Let's just say catering comparison. Save. Okay. So, sorry, making that a little bit. So we're going to show that on the card, and we're going to do that. Now, I believe, and Eric, maybe you can validate this with me, that this is an attachment, but this file lives in SharePoint still.
That's my understanding.
Yeah. So I feel like, let's see, let's do this. Let's open this up and see what happens. I can't believe there's a fly. That's like literally there's a fly in my room. So, I'm looking at, the different.
Good old New York.
Yep. Budget admin. Yes, that is back inside of my SharePoint, and that is in my Teams inside the folder of SharePoint. So that attachment is attached to that file that is in that channel. That makes sense?
I think I'm good, but what about a planner attachment? Do you think that's different?
Oh, this is in Planner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I did that. This is right in a Planner task.
Okay, and Debbie says, I think it sounds like it answered her question, so perfect.
Sweet, okay, cool. All right, we got a little bit of time left. If you have more questions, y'all just we'll pepper them in, but I'm gonna do a little switcheroo because I wanna show you this too. And I'm gonna switch over to this, and I'm gonna go into here. I'm gonna pop into this other end user adoption one that I've set up. I'm gonna go into Teams. We'll see if this bounces me or not. This is the sort of what I was talking to you about the switching. So I was in my Creative Maven tenant, and now I'm going into my Content Panda tenant. There's not yet an easy way to quite do that. So we'll see if this will pull up what I was looking for or not. Yes, okay, cool. So, where's my dealio over there? Let's see. Let's see here. Maybe go over here. See, I got a lot of buckets. So This is a really good example of the team stuff. And so I've got, oh God, I've got a lot of these now. And as you can see, they all are different. And then, but locking in over here, yeah, the end user one is not showing up. So I'm just going to stay over here and show you a little bit more over there. And one other thing I wanted to show you, because I think this is kind of neat. Maybe I'll just go into here. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to create a new one because that's super fun, and why not? So I'm going to do this really quick. So I'm going to create a team. I'm going to call this PixelMill End User Adoption. I'm going to make it private. Now you could make it public to anyone in your organization can join, but you can also create a team from using an existing team as a template. That's fairly new, which is super awesome. So if you're like, I love this one that I already had and I want to duplicate it, which is awesome for end user adoption campaigns, which is awesome for events. You can create a team from the existing Office 365 group. So you're like, these people, because I want them again into my stuff. You can do that as well, which is really cool. So I'm going to hit next. Add members. Where am I? I'm in my, there we go. So Simeon Kathy, who's my business partner, I'm going to put him in there. Right on. Close. I'm doing this super live, y'all. So here we go. So, which is super cool. So here's where I have a conversation and get that fly out of my face. I'm going to say, hey, I'm doing a demo. So that'll ping him and tell him I'm doing a demo. Now, again, I don't have any files in here yet, so nothing's going to show up. But I have my area, right? Share files in this channel. I can do new, I can do upload, then I can get a link of something and put it into my Teams. I can add cloud storage or open something in SharePoint. There's an area here for a wiki as well, which is really cool. But the thing I do want to show you really quickly is this. So I'm going to say, so that little plus sign, you see I hit the plus sign there? So what happens here is you've got all of these wonderful things that you can pull into Teams. So this is all available to you within Office 365. You got document library, you can put Excel in there, you've got Forms, OneNote, Planner, Power BI, all of these different things, right? So if I wanted to create a new planner specifically for this end user campaign, I'm going to say, yes, right on, I want this. Should I post to the channel about this tab? Sure. Create a new plan, tab name, and I'm going to call it PixelMill Planner, right? I'm going to hit save. And you can pepper me with questions if you have any too. I can do it all at the same time. But one thing I wanted to point out, so when you're building that end user adoption campaign, and you know, Eric, the one thing I want to figure out is, can I share, I don't think I can share a template yet out to the world. That's the one thing I really want.
I'm pretty sure you cannot. I don't even know if that's on the roadmap yet.
Well, I think I put it there, actually.
Okay. On user voice?
Yeah, I believe so. I'll have to go check. I know I thought about it.
If I can find it, I'll send a link out.
Okay. If not, I'm going to go do it right now after we get off this. But the cool thing is so this is define your vision, right? So actually, that's not what I wanted to do because that's a task. I want to make this a bucket. So define your vision, right? Dang it, Heather. Oh, there we go. Add a new bucket. I was doing it in the wrong place. Define your vision, right? And then I'm going to add my next bucket, which was, do we remember? Exec support, right? So I can go in here, and what I do when I do these end user adoption campaigns is I do them over and over and over and over, right? So, and I couldn't show you some of those because they're proprietary and with clients, so I didn't do that. So apologies, but I'm building you one right here. So vision, executive support, and then, you keep going, and then you write in, define use cases, right? And you can put those in. And then you start adding in your tasks and due dates and alignment and all that sort of thing. So it really is, when you're doing something like this, I always recommend to kind of build out everything first, and build your buckets first, right? If you can, and if you know the 10 buckets because it's an adoption campaign, then you can definitely, build those out, which is pretty awesome. And then you start filling in your tasks. and use it that way. And I highly recommend always having, I always open a Teams, and in my general channel, I do a planner and I do a OneNote, and I usually keep everything up in that general channel. I have not really played with having multiple planners in multiple channels so much, because I like to see everything in one view. So that's kind of a tip and trick from me. And that's something also that I want to ask them on the roadmap is, how do planners connect to each other on the back end to be like, say, an all-up planner, if you will. So that's something that's sort of on my own roadmap of what I want to know and hear from them. I'm going to show you one last thing, because I'm going to turn this on really quick, because I'm going to turn Content Panda on for a second. So sometimes, you know, when I am looking for stuff and I can't remember, this is when I go to Content Panda and I turn on a little tip and trick. That's what I was talking about with that in context, you know, on-demand help. And that's how that works. And it works in SharePoint, and we're looking for this to come out later in the year. But I'm really excited about it, because I love that I don't need to ask anybody for help. I don't need the IT team to help me do anything. I don't need to put in a support ticket. I could just have on-demand content right there at my fingertips. So that's kind of, I hope that gives a feel for what you can do and the power of Teams and Planner together to plan, you know, to plan an event, to plan a project, to plan an end user adoption campaign. I know the slides are really focused on the end user adoption campaign, and I think that checklist works for so many things. I showed you a lot of like what it looks like to build an event as well, sort of just to give you a flavor of the different ways you can use it. Eric, are there other ways that you use it that, you know, that I didn't cover, or that, you know, are powerful, or that you, oh, wait, one last thing, mobile. It is on mobile. It's in iOS and Android, and it is awesome. I use it on my phone all the time. I have got, I showed this to Carol, I'm like, Teams is right there, right in front.
Me too. Absolutely.
I know, right? I use it all the time.
So questions came in. Yeah. I'm going to quickly answer your question. I'm doing everything I can to make Teams replace email for me. The mobile app is huge, and I love it. So yeah, it's big, and I'm making a prediction that I think Teams is going to replace a lot of the traditional portal over the next couple of years. I think that so much can move to Teams. There's some definite caveats. The most highly voted user voice on Teams is the ability to have private channels over 10,300 votes. If you just go to Microsoft Teams user voice or Google that, you'll see the #1 post. Please keep voting it up, because we need it. Okay, there are some questions that came in I was hoping you would address. One was for files. You can link to existing SPO site or library within a team or a channel, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I did with when I created my Creative Maven channel, because I've had a SharePoint site forever, right? And I wanted them to be linked. So yeah, you can choose. Let's see if I can. I'm trying to think if I can to show you how to do that. Keep going on those questions, and I'll look here and see.
There was another question from Sherman. Woo! Hey, Sherman. Does the Teams in context help work in the desktop client?
Oh, excellent question, and I will answer that in a second. Okay, let me show you this really quick though. So remember the new Teams that I created really quickly, right? So if I hit the plus, and I hit document library from another team. So what will happen is the document library, this will show up, and it'll say relevant sites. So I could go connect out. Now I can connect to the one that is created when you create a Teams, because when you create a Teams, you already have that. So if you wanted to connect that one, just usual, awesome. Or I could connect it to my marketing site, my partner site, my ongoing Panda go-to-market site. You could also add a link in here as well. So yes, you can, to answer that question. So, and that's how to do it. Yeah, hi, Sherman. Yes, coming soon. This is a beta test version of that. We will have Teams through a browser plugin, and that's how that happens. For desktop clients and all of that right now, it's still inside of SharePoint. So, yep. Happy to show you more too. All right, more questions?
There's another, so there was a bunch of different templating user voice requests I just put in the general chat for everybody, cool. So that you can kind kind of review the ones that you want, vote them up, please. Do use user voice. Microsoft really does listen. Like the product groups review that on a routine basis, and those that are voted up, and if they're voted high, like they have to be able to reply to management, like, why are we not addressing this, or what's the plan here? What is it will take to address? And some of the questions are hard, like private channels was really difficult because of a decision Microsoft made in the architecture, but they're working on it and they understand it's important.
Yeah. Well, cool. I think we're at the top of the hour, so I will say thank you for having me. Again, those checklists and all kinds of things are up on contentpanda.com/resources, checklists and templates. But again, go out to the Microsoft site. They have really great templates. And if you want to follow me, that's how you do it. I'm at Hedda Newman, and I'm on contentpanda.com, creativemaven.com. I write on Medium. I'm all over the place. So just say hello, and I'm always happy to connect you to people or answer questions. And this was super fun. Hopefully I didn't go too fast. I love it that I'm sitting here in my Williamsburg Airbnb talking to you all. So.
Oh, thank you so much. Debbie came in and said thank you. I'm sure there'll be a lot of thanks and kudos. You did great, Heather. Appreciate all the content. Teams is so important. Really, I'm great seeing the questions, Q&As coming in. Active group today, so definitely cool.
All right. Yay. Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you, Heather, for joining us. Thank you, everyone else, for joining us as well. This will get posted in the next couple days or so. It's Thursday here today, so probably be early next week. Do watch for this. But if you registered, which you had to do, this will of course get emailed out to you, so that you will you'll automatically be notified, and you can use this at your heart's content. I don't see any other questions offhand, so. Thank you again. Have a great time at SharePoint Saturday New York. Looking forward to seeing you, Heather, at SharePoint Saturday LA. And those of you in LA, August 11th. Can't remember when I'm going to be there. Do join us. Hey, it's a free event. It'll be a lot of fun, and I know there's going to be some great Teams sessions there as well. Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, thank you all. Have a great rest of the day, and talk to you all soon.
Thanks, everybody. Bye. Bye.